get
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Let's talk about Chamath.
101.3.
Why the hate?
Paramount stock. This is a stock that is Buffett owned, down 23%. A Buffett owned stock down over 20%. Dividend goes to 5 cents versus 24 cents. Revenue on Paramount Plus, not total revenue. Revenue on Paramount Plus, 1.5 billion, up 40%. Amazing numbers, but they lost 511 million, up from 486 million dollars in losses, assuming the content licensing and costs was up too much. Further making the argument that streaming is a very tough business to be in because content is very expensive. Stock is down 22%. Do we think Buffett sold out of it? What do you think is going to go on?
Before you go to Buffett, this was a Chris pick. He said, buy this over Netflix.
No,
I didn't say buy.
Chris was excited about the stock, but he told my morning stream today he never ended up buying it.
Okay. Yeah, I did a lot. These are the kinds of things I'm saying. We were trying to compare Netflix to other streaming services.
Right.
And I'm going to do more due diligence on Paramount. Like, I haven't looked at their balance sheet. I don't know what their cost structure is. I haven't even listened to their earnings call today because I want to hear what their reasoning for cutting that dividend is. Are they using the extra savings to buy back some debt? Do they have a lot of debt on their balance sheet? Are they using it to reinvest in the business? You know, because this could be one of those times where there's a lot of opportunities that open up, you know. And I also want to see, like, from the big hedge fund side of things too, like, what are the 13 Fs that are going to be coming out where we see that 22% in Buffett sell. I don't know. We'll see. Once I see the 13 Fs, we'll know more, right? To see who's buying.
Do you have any info on the streaming? How did that do?
Yeah, that's what I said. They did 1.5 billion in revenue, up 40%, but their costs is up 500 million versus 486 million on Paramount Plus specifically, not the whole business. But their revenue with Nickelodeon, MTV, Comedy Central, CBS, 5.8 billion, but that's down 8% year over year. So, I mean, revenue continuously declining overall. But this dividend cut, I think that's what got investors pissed off.
Yeah, right now, anyone who's cutting dividends is taking massive hits, because I think a lot of what happens with dividend stocks is that you have an entire base that's just there for the dividends, right? Because that's what they're doing. Like, if you give me a fixed return, I will be a loyal shareholder. But if you cut the dividend, I'm selling. And right now there's a lot of opportunities where other people are giving higher dividends. So why wouldn't I go with them? You know, so they're going to sell off. Now, does that mean that your business is fundamentally flawed? No. It could mean that, you know, in the short term, you're cutting the dividend to make some improvements in the business that are going to yield you a long-term return. So I just have to see, like, if you look at Netflix doesn't even give a dividend, right? So there was no dividend to cut. So let's see what happens.
Let me ask one question, Vitaly, while you're preparing this chart, and I want to get Carlos's take on this.
How do you know?
I didn't do as much due diligence at all on Vitaly, because you're preparing whatever you're preparing. I didn't do any due diligence on this stock at all. My due diligence, I want to ask Carlos because he's like in the creative space. I want to see if this connects with investing. My due diligence was the content is fucking trash. Therefore, I'm not buying the stock because, you know, baby math, 2 + 2 = 4. If the content sucks, people are not going to subscribe. Therefore, the business is not going to do well. Is that enough of an investment, basic due diligence thesis, to not buy a company like this? Or is that a naive way of thinking about investing when you're investing in a creative company, a content company, when it comes to this? Because my due diligence seemed to be correct. The stock's down 20% because the content sucks, which is reflected in the numbers.
I don't think the content went down because I don't think the price went down because the content sucks. And this is actually really personal. What's happening with this company right now? This is a company, Vitaly and I even were looking at this company very early on in the pandemic.
No, I had it in my dividend portfolio last year.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 years ago.
We were looking at this. We were thinking people working from home, they're going to be home a lot more, right? And we kind of felt like these streaming services would consolidate. I'm hearing a lot of what's happening firsthand from the people that are affected by this. And as much as it sucks for a lot of like my friends and colleagues, I do think that they're going to be okay. They're going to, they have such a massive library and you have to understand too that having great content doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to have great content. Like, once everybody on Netflix has seen Squid Games, you got to give them another Squid Games. And
that's my point, Carlos. Netflix is able to keep producing those hits. I was kind of wrong on Netflix because they've outperformed in terms of their content hedge, which is why my question is, if I think
the subscribers, they lost subscribers last.
They started gaining them again. No, they started.
Well, they started gaining. But what I'm saying is, it's very finicky. This is also, you have to understand. It's like Vitaly and I were talking. The comparison we were making about Apple. When the shit hits the fan, what's the first thing that gets cut? It's not your iCloud. It's the Netflix.
No one's
Yeah.
cutting Netflix. Absolutely not.
I know people that have to make
100%.
No,
that-
but
No one-
I actually,
no one's
I,
cutting
hold on,
Netflix.
I agree with Vitaly here. Again, going back to my point, basic due diligence was if the content sucks, there's not enough subscribers to generate the revenue needed for them to justify, Paramount Plus being a success. So I feel like you can put 2 and 2 together and be like, it sucks. Vitaly's right on this. The content on Netflix does not suck. Over the past 5 months, they proved me wrong. It is good content. And as a
It
result,
is
they're not
great
gonna lose-
content if
It's
you
great
know what you're looking
but
for.
it's
especially.
it's also seasonal. It's subjective. It's like you can't. The only way that you say it's good content is because people are
No, the
voting
numbers
on
don't
that.
lie. I mean, you look at culture, the memes that are going viral. Everyone knows you. Everyone
Sure.
knows Love is Blind. The
Sure.
fucking servers crashed when they tried to do Love is like these are cultural phenomena.
Sure,
that
but
proves
look,
the
I was
content.
I was there very early on at some of the cable networks when they were still only like HBO, Showtime, and Stars. I know what that's like. Some of
Agreed.
those companies are gone now, right? It's seasonal.
You
They
can't be
run a life-
comparing Netflix to being gone.
No, I'm not saying Netflix is going to be gone.
But we can come back. I'll just point out real quick. His bull case, Chris's bull case on this company. You know what? It's down. It's not the lowest it's been, but this is what you would have had if you invested in the last 20 years in this company. So it has never been a good company.
But they had a dividend. That's what they had.
They had a dividend, and that's it. It has never been a good company. And the chart shows it.
What
The
company?
investors
What
never.
company? But pull up AT&T. I mean, that's not fair because if it's a dividend
AT&T
company,
fine. AT&T has never been a good company.
but it's a
fine.
dividend. It's a dividend beast.
But that's
for a
Vitaly's
reason.
point. For a content company, you have
But
to have good
you cannot
content.
you cannot hold a dividend stock by the same metrics that you hold a
If
growth
they introduce
company.
a direct to consumer,
So I'm glad you brought this up
again.
because the reason you buy Netflix is because it's not a dividend stock. It's
Right,
a
for
growth
now.
stock.
For now,
Hold
yes,
on.
but it will
People
flip.
still think. People
It
still
will-
think there's a
it will flip.
possibility of growth. They're getting into other things. This is what they think, whether you believe it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at Paramount, you're just like, this is an old stodgy company run by 70-year-olds who doesn't know how to do tech. This is what people think. And we had a dividend from it, which was great. So I didn't mind that it didn't do anything.
Mhm.
And now you think you're going to change into a Netflix because you put something online?
No,
No,
it's
that's
not that.
idiotic.
Okay, but you have 10,000 shares of Netflix right now. You have 10,000 shares of Netflix. The money sits
By the way,
there.
I had 5 and I sold them for Enphase, just so you know.
Ooh, big spend. I'm just saying, you have 10,000 shares of Netflix right now, and you're holding it for the next 5 years. They need to show you, the investor, consistent growth quarter over quarter to justify.
That means content, right? So Atangi says, I don't think looking at content should be the KPI. I think that's the only KPI. The subscribers, the revenue growth, none of that matters unless I feel like it's so simple with these companies. If there's even the dividend or growth, whatever, if the content sucks, if YouTube had 0 good content, Google would not be making $30 billion a year.
But again, you come back to if you ask 100 different people, does YouTube have good content? It really depends on what they're into.
All 100 people will say yes. I met
Everyone
a guy
on YouTube right now will say yes.
No. Let me make a little
right. StreamYard is the worst video streaming platform.
The 323 people will
but-
definitely say yes because they're watching it on YouTube. But real quick,
I like the Mid's
Hold on, real quick.
Amid's case for Zoom, he's like, Zoom is the best streaming thing in the world as we're on StreamYard.
No, but look, Datra Ed
like
has Datra Ed said it. Netflix is easy to cancel if they're boring. It's very easy to
it is
cancel.
I
not
agree.
easy.
But
Are
they're
boring.
not boring, which is why people are
No.
like.
If I
met a
cancel
guy-
Netflix, my kids will kill me. You understand? They will literally just kill me at night.
I met a guy at the
YouTube
park
is the
today.
best. I'd agree.
I met a
YouTube is
guy
the
at the park today, Ukrainian guy. We started talking about Palantir. It was a very interesting discussion. And I said, yo, do you watch YouTube? He's like, yeah. I was like, do you pay for YouTube Premium? He was like, yeah. I went on his YouTube. He's showing me his watch history. It's all Ukrainian, Russian stuff. Like he's watching it in his language. 100 out of 100 people will say, yes, YouTube has good content because it's a search engine. Anyone can find anything. It's all personalized to you. So that's the moat, right? There's always good content. If there was no Ukrainian people, the guy doesn't watch Americans. He watches Ukrainians, right? That's what he wants. It wouldn't be good. So my thing is, if you ask 100 people if Netflix has good content, especially because Netflix is international, Paramount doesn't have a presence in South Korea or Japan. I would say like 70% would say Netflix is good. That's the thesis. Content is king. It's a simple thesis, in my opinion. That's why I was bearish on Netflix all of 2021 because I was like, after Squid Game, there is nothing on this platform. It's all.
But that's both the that's the double-edged sword, right? If it's
Agreed.
good, if it's bad, you get you get cut. And you as an investor, this is where I think it gets dicey. If you have those 10,000 shares and you're holding on to it, you need to see those consistent returns to not take those profits. If they were paying a dividend, then you at least have a reason to hold it. This is why I feel like eventually it will flip. They will reach a saturation point. Like Apple, they reached a saturation point with the iPhones once they stop reporting quarterly sales. And I think we'll see the same thing with these companies. Maybe they still have some more runway to go, but I think that's eventually where all of this is going. I think that's where a lot of this is going. A lot of these companies that we see as growth beasts right now will eventually reach a saturation point and offer a dividend.
Atong says better metric is total streaming hours. The content can be trashed, but people still watch trash. I still think the argument doesn't make sense because
the streaming hours don't matter because they don't. Netflix doesn't give a shit if you actually watch it or not. They don't care. They just want the money.
They do care about that, but they don't. Doesn't matter if it's an hour
or
10 hours.
But you remember when Netflix used to have the voting system, the up and down? Like they don't.
They still have that.
This
is how. No, there's still the thumbs up. You could still, yes, I do that because then they feed you what you want.
It used to be you could rate it. Thumbs up and down is different. That's more about an algo showing what to show you. The rating system was different, and I think that was more accurate. But they moved away from that for some reason.
Well, my thing is total streaming hours only makes sense if the content is being streamed. So yeah, people may watch some stupid show on Netflix, but that can't be the like hundreds of millions of hours that the mainstream shows get, and you only get those total streaming hours, the metric Atong is talking about, if the content is able to put up hundreds of millions of hours.
This goes back to the network, Carlos. And I'm not saying Netflix is like the best investment, by the way. I don't have any stake in it. But this goes back to the network we were talking about before. If someone has a big network, it's easier for them to make that thing, whatever it is, the widget, the solar panel, the microinverter, the car. As the network gets bigger for Netflix, they just get bigger. That's it. Just like Apple. So Paramount has a lot to compete against. So I don't think it's a good investment. It's been 20 years of dead stock, and it's probably going to continue that way because to get to the point of Netflix, they should have done that 10, 15 years ago. That's over for them.
Well, from what I understand, from what my friends and people that in the business are telling me on the ground is like they're consolidating a lot of their networks. And so what they're doing is they're finding what is.
I agree, Chris. Great point. Is this?
Chris was making great points for the past 10 minutes. This is the one time Chris hasn't talked for like 10 minutes.
I mean, look, we can do like Congress. We can do like
funny.
Congress.
That is funny, man.
We can do like Congress, and I can say I relinquish my time to the gentleman on the bottom left corner.
So Chris, overall, Chris, you would not buy Paramount. You totally don't think there's no case.
Yeah, no, actually, I was looking like when people cut dividends, I want to see why they're cutting their dividends.
It's true.
Right?
What are they doing with that?
What is the profit? What is it? Profitability that's impacting them in the short term? What is it? One of the things I know is that the reason why they have been so valued like this is because they overpaid for a merger that they did with CBS Viacom. So they still have a lot of debt on their books. Now they're paying off that debt pretty quickly. So I'm looking at their balance sheet right now. So I'm going to deep dive into them a little bit more later today and just see what
someone needs to make a meme of like someone.
Can you put up the primordial light? That's funny.
By the way, guys, we got 15 minutes left. Please leave your questions. 15 minutes left. Please leave your questions.
Wait, if you have a big thing, everything is easier. I like your thesis. He spelled my name wrong. And anyway,
did you hear the guy yesterday, Anu? He called you Vitali. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, my name is like right there. There's like a circle with the white letters, and everybody spells it.
That's how they pronounce it. It's different, man. Like you could. There's a lot of stuff that you have that like people are gonna pronounce your name different. Like I'm sure that people are gonna say Amit is gonna be something different too. Like Amit. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day before we did our first podcast with him. I just could not get my head around that name. Your last name was just like, it was like my tongue could not shape in the way to make that. It was like, and now it's just, now you look like an Amit.
Yeah. Amit Kak Raja, right?
Yes. Amit Kak Raja. That's what we got. Johnny says he plays my question, but you will ignore it. Johnny, why? Johnny, we love you.
What's your question?
Everyone stop till Johnny writes the comment.
His comment is
no one talks till Johnny
discuss Enovix. His comment is talk about Enovix.
We were supposed to talk about it yesterday, but we just ran out of time.
And somebody comments. People keep commenting to us that we should do a minimum like 10 minutes or so on Tesla every day.
Okay, so all right, questions. It's
already
11:15.
That's what I feel like every day we talk about Tesla, but we haven't been recently. Kelly, do you want Amit's last name? You could have it. Just become a teacher.
Bro, her initials would be KK. It's interesting. Yo, would you ever take your wife's last name?
No.
No, what are you talking
Who
about?
does that?
We're old. We're not gonna do modern things.
No way.
I was just asking, just seeing. Yeah, we really got to go at 11:30. I have a hard stop. So let's see, last 12.
Yo,
12 minutes.
mad
Oh,
props
you have
to
a hard
guys.
stop,
Look,
but we
it's
want to go
only-
for 4 hours,
It's
buddy.
only like 8 o'clock for me here, and I
Ridiculous.
gotta give you guys props for staying up so damn late. Like,
Right.
to do
Go to
this.
some questions right now.
We talked about Shopify, Starbucks for like
That was in the beginning.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
at the top.